everybody doing tonight? Happy Tuesday. It's finally Tuesday. Last week we did a Wednesday one, and I was like so confused about my entire week since I'm so used to doing these on Tuesday. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day and start to the week. Today, I want to talk about climbing. And this goes back to a lot of different reasons on why I want to talk about it. Sometimes there's some posts that pop up that are like, how do I get better at climbing? Sometimes there's just different questions in general. And so this is a video that I wanted to make for you guys to be able to tag people in or to use as a reference guide, because climbing is dynamic. Climbing it has a lot of different pieces and parts, and it has a big role in how we think about ourselves on the trail. And that needs to kind of change here and there, but there's also the want to improve. There's the want to feel better about yourself and the want to get better. And so I kind of wanted to give my top 10 tips of things that you can do either now, actionable things on the bike, and or things that you need to do to help you get better as a whole and become your journey. So if you're on here live, I'd love to know that you're here, and I'd love to know if you struggle with climbing and what things that you find to be the hardest for you. What things that do you struggle with? Because I know there's a lot of us ladies that struggle with this, and it really affected me in my riding. I was unable to ride these certain trails. I was unable to get up these certain sections. I would feel so exhausted and so drained on the trail that it wasn't fun for me. It wasn't fun for me to go ride. I didn't like it as much, and I just couldn't do as much stuff. And so it really impacted my riding on my ability to climb better. It really made it not as fun. And now that I am climbing better, my fitness is better, I'm doing these things, like it's a dramatic change on the trail for how when I just feel about myself, how I can interact with the trail, how I can interact and do different things on it, how I can session different parts, how I can feel myself getting better, I can challenge myself differently. Like a lot of times when we bring up climbing and climbing better, people think, oh, it's just for keeping up with people. That's a part of it, but a lot of times people don't mind. If somebody rides with you, they want to ride with you for being around you, for enjoying out on the trail with you. It's not because you are slower because you're fast. Like if somebody wants to ride a faster ride, they'll just go ride it. And so thinking about that part isn't as big of an impact. It wasn't as big of an impact for me, but just the fact of not feeling like I was going to die on the side of the trail. I have exercise-induced asthma, and I have had a lot of health issues. And so climbing was one thing that was really hard for me to get back to and to feel strong with. And it really impacted how I just felt internally about myself and about my body and about a lot of things in my life. And so just wanted to share that part with you, that it's dynamic of how it affects you on the trail and how it impacts your life. And so today is the top 10 tips. Again, we just had a lot of people join on. If you have trouble with climbing, I'd love to know, one, if you do have trouble with it, and then what seems to be the biggest issue for you. And I can use some of these information to do future videos too, to talk about certain aspects. So number one is that it's a journey. Climbing better is a journey. It's not something that all of a sudden you're going to flip one little thing, you're going to do one little thing different, and it's going to be like magic out there. There are certain things that I'm going to talk about later that will help you with that, but it's a journey, it's a process for this. It's not like all of a sudden, wham, now I climb better. And part of that process makes it even more sweet whenever you get it, because you've worked for it, because you've done things to get there, because you've gotten so much better. And so know that if all of a sudden, especially if you're new, if you're getting back into it, if you've had a health issue, if you've had an injury, if you had to take some time off due to COVID, that it's going to take a little bit more time for you to get back into it and feel good about it. and give yourself a little bit of a break. So knowing what expectations to put on yourself and what to give yourself a little bit of. Number 2, and you guys can probably guess this one, is strength. So with climbing, we need to be stronger. You're like, duh, Liz. Thanks for that great tip. But more so strong in through our core. When we're on the bike, we are in this position where our butt's on the saddle, we're over top of it, and we need to drive from a stable base of our core so our glutes and our quads can work, and also so we're not having to pull on the actual front part of the bike. We can guide, we can steer it, we're not so crunched up, and we can use our trunk control within that. And so making sure as you're doing different workouts, specifically because of us ladies, is that you add in a huge core component with that. We need a huge core component and we need a huge glute, because we all tend to use more of our quads more so than our glutes. And so making sure to use your glutes, you have to have a strong core. And whenever you're doing your workouts, even if you just do 2 15-minute workouts a week, you will feel a difference in how your body is working and using on the bike. It will change how you're moving. It will change how you're doing. And it doesn't have to be like extreme weights. It doesn't have to be excessive amounts. It just needs to get you going, starting to get those muscles working for you. Doing some of those hip hinge, doing some of those deadlifts, doing some of those other leg strength exercises that will really play a role into how your body is going to work on the bike. I think we have a couple people that have said some things on here. Angie, what's up, lady? Jenny, how you doing, honey? Got a couple other people. Denise from Pennsylvania moved to Florida. Said climbing struggles. Carol, what's up, girl? I know you're getting better. You're climbing. So with that fitness, even if you do 2 15-minute workouts each week, core-centric and a core and glute-centric, then you will see the difference on the bike and you will feel the difference in how you're riding within that. Now, going over more towards endurance for the third tip. Intervals, either doing it with exercises or intervals on the bike and base miles. And so you're like, Liz, why the hell do I need to do intervals, and why the hell are base miles important? So all those things play a role into your cardiovascular system. They also play a role into how quickly you can recover. So when you do intervals, when you do them either on the bike or when you do them in an exercise fashion, making sure that your body recovers, that your heart rate recovers between sets of those intervals where you're getting that heart rate up and then you're calming down, you're recovering. That recovery time is super important. Also, with mountain biking in particular, it's a little bit different than road biking with the fact that we have punchier climbs, and that includes some roots, rocks, and other more balance-centric things. And so our body is going to be stressed a little bit differently than comparatively to road riding, where you can get into a nice cadence and you can cruise. And you can help really set how your heart rate's going to respond to what you're doing on the bike. And so really making sure that you're getting in some of those intervals, even if you're doing that where you're on the trail, where you're doing a punchy climb and then you recover from it. You do a punchy climb and then you recover from it. Making sure that you're getting in some of those stress points recovery is key for your body to handle those stresses later on whenever you are out there on the trail and really trying to make certain climbs. Base miles are whenever you go out for a longer ride, like hour plus to all the way up to some people even do up to 5 hours, which that is not me. I don't like doing these easier rides, just not as much fun to me, but they are very beneficial for you. And so what you do is you go in a nice easy, like more of a zone 2 level. A lot of us tend to, whenever we go out for rides, we tend to go in zone 3, aka it's a moderately hard level. And so that's what level we stay in. And you don't get as much bang for your buck whenever it comes to training your cardiovascular system to stay in that moderate zone. You need to stay in that low zone, that zone 2, easier ride for that period, that chunk of time, or you go into intervals where you're going in and out of that. And that's how you really are training your cardiovascular system within that. And also why you can do them either on the bike or with specifically targeted exercises put together in more of that interval fashion, that you're also working similar type muscles to biking. You can do some running with this, but it does work different muscle groups, and so it's not quite the same if you do a running interval as if you do a biking interval or an exercise, couple exercise intervals that are really focused in on the muscles you'll use while you're biking. Let me see, I think it literally says 5 hours sounds terrible. Yes, I don't think I could do that. And literally said glute-centric. You can say I've got that covered. That's awesome. I love you, girl. Crack me up with your peach. Oh, man. All right, so that was 3 tips. The 4th one, and this one's going to seem a little bit odd, but rest and recovery. And so I just told you to work out. I just told you to do intervals and on the bike stuff, and now I'm telling you that you need to take a break. Yes, if you do not take a break, if you don't let your body recover, then it will not get the strength gains. It will not get what you're doing to it to help it get better. It won't actually be able to implement that. And it'll mean you are more likely to get injured, to hurt yourself, to have other repetitive stress injuries, to have your neck start hurting, have your shoulders start hurting. And so rest, recovery, stretching, foam rolling. Everybody needs a foam roll. Make sure that you're doing some of these things for yourself. Make sure and this is going to go into the next one, make sure you're hydrated enough. Make sure that you are eating enough for your recovery. Make sure that you're getting enough protein, that you are getting and doing nutrition for your rides. This is the next one, which is the top tip, is nutrition. Number 5, in making sure that you are getting your other electrolytes that you need. You're getting enough salts, that you are getting enough hydration as a whole, that you're eating enough protein, that if you have issues with this, then seek out someone to help you with it. Gut, digestive, everything that's in here can really affect what's happening to your entire body. And if you're not getting enough of those nutrients in your body, then what you're doing for it strength-wise, what you're doing for it rest-wise, recovery-wise, what you're doing for it on the bike, they're not gonna impact you in the best way possible. You're gonna get tired, you're gonna get overly fatigued, and just your homeostasis, or like the equilibrium of your body, doesn't mesh as well. So nutrition is a super key thing. If you're having issues with cramping, making sure that you are getting enough salts. If you are not feeling like you're recovering well enough after you're doing some of these workouts and some of these rides, like make sure you're staying hydrated enough so your blood supply can go around your body still, and that you're eating enough protein. And I know that me personally, it's hard for me to get enough protein directly after I ride, and that's one of the things that I personally struggle with. Like, I need to eat some peanut butter and some apples and stuff like that. I need to carry them with me. So my husband was talking about how he just recently learned his new favorite food, and it's peanut butter and apples. It makes me so happy. Jenny V, yes, gut health is so important. So any questions on these first top 5? Making sure when you're doing your fitness training that you are doing a more mountain biking specific one, and or that you're focused in on some of the things that you would need for mountain biking, like a strong upper back, a strong core, making sure you're getting actually firing your glutes. Having all those things coming together will really play a role into your participation in how you do on the bike. All right, So now some things that you can take action with today. Now let's get into some things that actually, like, you can go out for your next ride and you can make these changes then. So, posture. Posture on your bike is key. A lot of times whenever we are struggling with climbing, when we're struggling with getting up that hill, our posture goes to absolute shit. And what I mean is that as we try to grab those bars, as we're sitting on the saddle, pull up my pants, is that instead of being in this nice position where our elbows are a little bit out, we can take a deep breath through here. All of a sudden we fall into it and we're just like hanging onto the bike, trudging up the hill. And then, so I want everybody, if you can, get up on your knees or stand up, and I want you to kind of tilt forward, take a deep breath. Now I want you to fold, collapse your rib cage how you would be on there, and take a deep breath. It's a lot different, isn't it? And so making sure that you're strong enough, and this is also where our trunk control comes in. This is also where our other exercises that focus on core come in, is that being able to actually maintain that position, maintain our open chest, maintain that posture. It's such a difference in that. And so if you're already struggling with breathing, if you're already struggling with some of these things, and you are here on the bike, like you just can't take a really deep breath, but it ends up the posture that we start going into. Instead of being here, where you can't take a big enough breath, and like this even like cuts off our diaphragm, we can't, like, it just like binds everything down through here, but it's where we end up going because we get tired. Because we're like, oh my gosh, I'm dying over here. Did you know this? I'm gonna take a break. What the hell? But keeping that chest open, being able to breathe better, will help you to actually get that oxygen exchange. It will help you to be able to take oxygen from the air and transfer it in the blood, and then the blood goes out to your muscles and everything else that needs it. Like, that's what we need this for. That's how we use this stuff. And also the efficiency of our muscles. As we do base miles training, as we do interval training for our stress, as we do strength training, our muscles become more efficient with the oxygen, with the other things that are given to it. And so it also becomes a more efficient system that it doesn't need it as much. It doesn't need as much oxygen to actually work and function properly. Denise, yes, I know you felt that, especially when you said, oh my goodness. All right, so that was number 6, posture on the bike. Number 7. Now, this is something that people have told you that you're like, yeah, duh, come on, Liz. And it's a mindset. If you look at a hill and you think, oh my gosh, it's so long. There's no way I'm going to be able to make this. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this. I just can't. Well, you've already lost. You've already stopped. You've already not been able to do it because your mind said no. And so even if, and sometimes I play a little trick on myself, I used to, is that I wouldn't look all the way up the hill. I would use my visor to look more just right in front of me. Now, I knew what was coming, so I didn't get hurt, and I was able to judge the trail. But not looking at the entire trail, the entire climb, and being like, oh, I can't do that. Instead, taking pieces and parts of it and being like, I'm going to get to that part. I'm going to try to get to that next part. I'm going to try to get to that next part, instead of being and looking at the entire thing. And that goes into the next thing is goals. Set actually reasonable goals. Set small goals. Set large goals. What are you looking at? What expectation? What things are you wanting to work towards? This is how you kind of like piece things out. Like, I was talking to another client that I was working with, and we were talking about goals, about how whenever she goes out to ride this one trail again, this one climb again, is that she stopped like so many times that she needs to take 25, her goal for the next time she goes out there is taking and stopping 25% less. And so if she stopped 10 times, the next time that she goes out there, her goal is to just stop 7. And so she'll take bigger chunks of it. The goal is not to do the entire trail without stopping the next time. It's a reasonable goal of what she wants to do that next time, of what she would be happy with achieving, and what's actually possible, of taking off these other parts, looking at it, like sectioning off those bits. So instead of stopping 10, she goes for 7. She stops 8 times. It's still going to be okay. It's still going to work. She's still working towards it. Working towards a goal, not making it, is not a failure. It's feedback. It's drive. It's pushing you forward. It's how you adjust and look at it. Okay? So mindset, number 7, number 8 of the goals. Chunking them off, making sure you're doing it. These are things that you can do right now as you go out on the trail. Okay? Not getting too much into your head. It seems like there's several ladies out here that do that, and or they're good at looking at the shorter distances and versus seeing the entire climb with it. Cecilia says that she doesn't want to do the entire thing. She gets so discouraged. She looks right at her front tire only. You know, sometimes you just got to convince yourself that that's what's happening. That visor that comes down off the top of that helmet, it's kind of nice. It blocks some things out sometimes. You can zone in. So, okay, that's 7 and 8. Now, the next thing that you can do on the trail is to not blow out your heart rate for the entire time. So I used to be very guilty of this, that I would just try to go, keep climbing, and I wouldn't take breaks until I was absolutely dying, till I was so tuckered out. And that's not good for our cardiac system. That's not a good interval. That's not good for how we need to look at the trail. That'll tax us out way too soon. It'll make us where we can't have energy to complete the rest of the ride, and where it will deplete us. And so making sure you're stopping enough in the ride that you're not just maxing out your heart rate for the entire thing. I don't need you at 170 beats per minute for an hour and a half. That's not right. That's not good for your system. That's not good for your training. It's not going to help you in future rides. That's not how we train. And so you doing it on your ride because you feel pushed to do it for one reason or another is not going to benefit you. Taking your breaks, letting your heart rate come down, and not feeling bad about taking your breaks, thinking about it as training, is how you need to approach that look. It's how you need to look at it, because then it will be training for you versus just maxing you out and making your recovery terrible. Making it where you can't keep up with that. Okay? And so don't max your heart rate out the entire ride, every ride. It's not good for you. Not good for your system. And so take your breaks. Make sure you're breaking through that. Okay? The last one, which is super important, kind of rolls into each other, is sleep and stress. If you are not getting enough sleep and or you are stressed for one reason or another, your body will not handle extra stress of riding, extra stress of cardiac pressure, extra push that you want to have on it. Your mental game will be off if you don't sleep. Your other hormones in your body will be off if you don't sleep and or you are stressed too much. And so knowing that if you have a mentally exhausting day, a mentally exhausting week, stressful day, that understand that when you go out there on the trail, that it may not be your best ride ever that you've had. It's okay. Part of what you do whenever you are riding is it is a stress reliever as long as you go to the trail and expect that. And so putting these expectations on yourself, trying to reach goals, does not mean that you shouldn't just go out and ride and have fun. Because that's a key component of it. And as we start looking at this, as we start looking at getting better at biking, is that we turn it into a job. And we put these other expectations, we put these other stresses on ourselves. And it's not healthy. It is healthy to work towards a goal. It is healthy to improve your fitness. It is healthy to want to hang out with friends and to want to have a bigger challenge. But it's not healthy if you are giving yourself more stress due to it. And that's where that dividing line, that's where that dividing factor comes in. Anybody else do this? Have these tips, these top 10 tips, been super helpful for you? Are you going to make some adjustments? These last 5 were really ones that you can change on the trail right now. Looking at your posture, looking at your mindset, setting your goals when you're out there, looking at how your heart rate is, not maxing it out too much, and then making sure that you're getting enough sleep and not stressing yourself out. The first one's going over them again is that it's a journey. Enjoy it, use it, push it, enjoy all of it, okay? And be proud of yourself whenever you get pieces and parts of it. Also be proud that you're working towards it. Even if you're not getting all the way there, be proud of those parts. That you need to do some fitness. You need to do a little bit of core work. You need to do some glutes, some other leg stuff. You need to make sure that you're getting in your intervals and some of your other base miles. Make sure you're getting those things, making sure you're resting, making sure you're getting that nutrition, that hydration. All of these things come in together. And so if you see somebody that posts up down the road, hey, I just want to get better at climbing, make sure you look up this post. Tag them in it. This is stuff that's super helpful for them and actionable, and they can do things for it. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that it was super insightful for you and gave you guys some actionable things. I love it. All right, ladies, have a fantastic night, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week too. Bye, guys.